All right, we are back. The one and only OSB Sports Podcast Show. I'm Scott Matthews, and I'm joined again by my team of experts. The man with the plan over here with the Sports Profits, the CEO, Teddy Brooks. What's up, Teddy?
Scotty and Tommy, good to see you guys.
Likewise.
Are you guys okay with the college foot? I feel like we're like
I'm in a deep state of
right
depression.
now.
I'm in a deep state of depression with no college this week. I don't know what to do with
Well,
myself.
technically there is college.
Well, Army, Navy.
Army, Navy. Hey, South Dakota, North Dakota. Watch out for that
There you
one.
go.
Oh, that's gonna be huge. That's on my that's on my radar for the last several days now.
Yeah, you got a couple.
By the way, I got to introduce the Big Kahuna, ladies and gentlemen, to the show. I didn't want to forget about you, of course, Big Kahuna. Without you making this OSB happen.
Well, yeah. Well, hey, good to see you guys. You know, we got a lot of stuff going on here. Just a quick.
Were you going to say like a nasty word and then you changed it up at the last second there? I noticed that.
There's no, but retail betting goes live tomorrow at the Hard Rock right here in Fort Lauderdale. Yours truly will be shooting content from there. Craps and roulette, ladies and gentlemen, will be on the floor.
By the way, he's been dreaming about this, I think, since I've known him.
Listen, I've been in Florida 35 years. I never thought you'd be able to walk in and make a bet on a sporting event. Any thoughts?
Yeah, well, listen, they brought it out, when was it, in October, I believe, and it had a short stint. It was like 3 weeks, and they pulled the plug. Cause,
the Feds shut them down, basically.
Yep, but now I guess they worked all the kinks out.
No, it wasn't the Fed. So the federal government doesn't really have jurisdiction over sports betting anymore. It's really the state governments now.
The state, yeah.
But interesting thing about the Hard Rock, you mentioned how ESPN bet if you have a 5-team parlay and one pushes, it's a loss. Or it's a push. It's a wipe, right? It's a wipe. Yeah. At the Hard Rock, they're doing flex parlays. If you bet a 3-team parlay, now we preach against parlays, obviously here, but if you're a parlay guy and you can't take our advice, if you bet a 3-team parlay and one of the games loses, it becomes a 2-teamer that pays plus 170. So
do they pay you? Because if it pushes,
yeah. So you get no. Even if it loses,
okay.
if you have a 3-leg and one of the leg loses, you still get paid if the other 2 win.
Really?
Yeah. So if you bet 100 and you get 2 that win, you get 170 back.
All right. Interesting. Not everybody does that though.
No, Hard Rock. That's what I'm saying. Hard Rock is doing that.
That's the one advantage of being the only game in town. They can make their own rules.
I got to get your guys' opinion because, like I told you, college football wrapped up basically the regular season last week. They brought out the top 4 teams. We've been talking about this for the longest time. I wanted to get your take on it, Ted. The top 4 being Michigan, number 1, I believe, Texas, number 2, Washington, number 3, and obviously Roll Tide. Bama got in there. They jumped 4 spots by beating Georgia to get in the top 4. What's your take on those 4 teams? Did you think they did it right?
Yeah, close. So yes. I mean, I definitely agree with FSU being out. This is a big polarizing issue that a lot of people are disagreeing
13-0, man. Not
13-0. But you got to remember, let's go back to 10 years ago when there was no playoff at all. Mm-hmm. And the controversy was very thick. So obviously the controversy is a little bit less now. I think that these guys, there's a set of rules that they look at how the team has progressed. They do take injuries into account.
Of course.
That's in the rule book.
Mm-hmm.
So if it wasn't in the rule book and they were just kind of making it as they go, I understand.
Strength of schedule, too. A lot of things come into play. You know, a lot of stuff like that, injuries, strength of schedule, you know.
I'm with Tommy's guy, Coach Prime, had a really good opinion on this. He said that it 100% should be. And
I don't hear you talk about him anymore.
Played for FSU. And he said 100% should be Bama. They're a better team than FSU. I would argue Georgia's a better team than FSU. I would argue that...
Well, SEC is going to get preference. I don't think they've ever been left out of the championship game, top 4 ever since they started it. I think an SEC team's been in there.
People really do not...
and you got Nick Saban.
Listen, the SEC, people don't really understand. I have a number here. Florida State in that game against Louisville averaged 3.4 yards per play, and Alabama was, at that same day, that same night, beating a team that hasn't been beat in almost 2 years.
29
in a row.
Yep.
I mean, I don't even think it's that big of a controversy. That's how I feel.
What's your take on those top four teams?
First of all, this is a lot. You got a lot of money on the line here. There was no way Bama was not going to get in here.
Why though? Why?
Because
leapfrog 4 teams.
Well, because Bama's Bama, Nick Saban's Nick Saban.
Okay.
And I think the networks rather have Bama than Florida State.
I don't disagree with you.
I don't know if it comes down to all that.
I don't either. Right. I just think Bama is the better team.
No doubt. If Florida State's quarterback
strength of schedule, conference.
Florida State's quarterback didn't get injured, Florida State would be in. But here's the question: who would they have bumped there of the other teams? Who would not have got in if Florida State got in?
Texas.
Nobody.
What do you mean? No?
Texas.
I think that it would have been those 4 teams. I don't think Bama would have got in.
You don't think Bama would have gotten in?
No.
Well, here's what I'm going to say about it.
They would have been 5th.
Here's
even though SEC has got such preference.
Here's my whole thing about it.
Can't knock
Florida State's strength of schedule was still very low.
Yeah.
And if Bama beats Georgia, you got to look at the games. I mean, yes, the Bama-Auburn game was close, but Florida barely beat Miami. Florida State barely beat Miami, barely beat Florida. Close games, right? Texas lost to Oklahoma, who had, I think, 3 losses, right? So you got to look at all of those things, and I just think all day long, what they really didn't want was
Texas beat Bama, though. Don't forget
Texas did beat Bama.
So
I understand.
They would have got the preference.
Here's my thing. You do not want a national championship game like last year where Georgia beat TCU 65-7.
I loved it. I had them.
That was a disgust. Anyone that had a brain had Georgia in that game, of course. But
by the way, not to rush you guys, but we got a great guest coming on. I'm excited about it. Rick Rosen from Boom Fantasy is going to come on our next segment, which we're going to wrap up in a couple seconds. Ben, we're going to bring him in about 2 minutes from now, okay? All right. Anything else on these top 4 teams you want to talk about?
No, I mean,
because it's here now, the playoffs, college football.
But it's going to expand next year to 12, I hear. Is that correct?
I love it. And they'll still have controversy if it goes to 12. They'll say, well,
once again, I don't want to always hop on the business, but let's face it, now more games, more viewership. It's just all about expanding everything out
I'm going to throw something out there really quick. I've been debating with my friends about this.
Okay.
Liberty, undefeated, won their conference. There's 133 teams in Division I. Do you know what Liberty's strength of schedule ranking was?
Oh, God.
133.
There you go.
Does Liberty make a 12-team playoff in next year's format if they have a year like this year?
They may.
Well, with 12
if
teams.
If they expanded like that, sure. 12, and they're undefeated.
12 teams.
They were 13-0, right?
Yeah,
they were 13-0. The whole problem with this is they want good games at the end of the day. You want good competition in there.
Well, it doesn't make them bad just because, listen, you still got to get up for 13 straight weeks in a row and beat your opponent. I don't care what you still got to win the games.
Yep.
And if you're dominating in your conference, even though, it's not maybe as strong as another conference, but you are the team in that conference and you're undefeated, you should have the shot to get in. If they expand it, not the top 4. Because you got powerhouses. You're going against Michigan. You're going against, teams like that. Alabama, Texas, Washington, undefeated in the Pac-12. I don't think Liberty's, jumping over those teams. That's for sure.
And I think once it gets closer to the bowl games and playoffs, I'm excited that we can discuss these games some more.
100%.
All right. Well, Ben, I think we should bring Rick Rosen in from Boom Fantasy because that's an exciting topic, and we want to bring him in. And I know all the guys have some questions for him. Are you there, Rick?
I'm here, Scott. Thanks for bringing me in. Thanks for that beautiful intro. I enjoyed hearing you guys talk about the college football playoff. I didn't get any predictions, though. Washington,
they'll be coming.
Texas,
they're coming.
They'll be coming. We gotta have content for the next few weeks. We can't.
Consummate professionals. They call that a tease in the biz, huh?
Yeah.
How's it going, guys?
It's going great,
Rick. Good to see you.
Rick, I had a question for you, obviously, an obvious question. How long has Boom Fantasy been around in the industry?
So Boom Fantasy is a DFS old head, honestly. We've been around for about 7+ years. I was one of the first 10 hires, and we were originally much more of a novelty product. This is around 2016, 2017. The first real legal challenges to DFS in New York. We were on the picket lines with DraftKings and FanDuel fighting for our God-given right to DFS in America.
Yep.
And that was a much more novelty product, jackpot focused. 4 quarterbacks, who's going to have the most passing yards?
I love that stuff. It keeps people, you know what it really does? It keeps people tuned into the game much longer because in our day.
It was nice, and we had a small thing, but we scaled back on that when the pandemic came around, and we focused on our B2B efforts. Sorry, if I'm going too long-winded, feel free to cut me off.
No, go right ahead.
With NBC Sports, Barstool, MSG. Yes, we have a game in the Tim Hortons app with 1 million players, and now we're back with Boom Fantasy 2.0, which is player prop parlay focused, and that we've been running for almost 2 years now.
Cool. And let me ask you a question. I mean, I think it's great with the, in my day, there was only straight bets. I mean, back in the day. I mean, we didn't know about this, in-game live stuff, how many touchdowns a quarterback's going to throw, receiving yards. It just makes it so much more interesting from a player's standpoint, especially these younger players, to sit there and watch these games. It keeps the audience tuned in the game all the way to almost the very end, where, if a game was a blowout back in our day, let's say, you turned off that game and you went to another game. So
yeah, Scott, don't you think that has a lot to do with like the fantasy football explosion and player props off of fantasy football, the individual player focus and the sheer data available player to player? Don't you think those kind of go hand in hand?
Yeah, definitely. 100%. Absolutely.
I mean,
the more info, the better, right?
Not
at the end of the day.
Not to mention a competitor, but some of the 2 biggest books started with their fantasy mailing list and just flipped them over to live betting. That's how they started. So, yeah, there's definitely a carryover, without a doubt.
I know Teddy had a couple of questions.
I'm loaded with questions.
Oh, he's loaded. And you better be ready for this, man, because he comes with the tough questions.
So with Boom, because I'm just getting familiarized with it, is it the same rules as some of the other DFS sites where you can't, if you do a 2-prop parlay, they can't be in the same game?
No, DFS rules are that they cannot be from the same team.
They can't be from the same team. Okay.
Exactly. They can't be from the same team. And that's just the legalese of the issue. But you could do same game at Boom Fantasy. Obviously, we do a ton of action on big events like the Super Bowl and the NBA Finals. Yeah.
Now,
it's a huge part of the game.
A follow up on that. You said you were picketing with DraftKings and FanDuel. You were picketing with them. Are they now kind of like against you now that they've made that move to Sportsbook?
Yeah, it's interesting, right? DraftKings and FanDuel are not even remotely close to the position that they were in 10, even 5 years ago, right? So you see a lot of change in the industry, and there's probably a lot of lobbying efforts going on as you see states turn their attention to the pick'em format and regulatory, but I don't foresee that being an issue. It is interesting, though. As we are talking, DraftKings today released a press release announcing a pick 6 game, which is essentially prop pick'em. So they can talk all they want about how they're not fans of the format, but we're here talking, and they've just announced they're getting into the game.
I just had a quick question. I know Tommy has some questions for you as well. What's like the most popular prop bets that your customers like enjoy the most? I mean, is it 4-leg? How many teams like, and what kind of wagers are they making? That's the most popular ones from your opinion that you see.
So the great thing about Boom Fantasy is we have these levels of props that players can access. We have favorites, which are much more reasonable lines. And then we have toss-ups, which are much more like the -110 standard lines you'll find all around the industry. And we have long shots, which are not anywhere else in the industry, which are have much greater odds. So long shots will pay 2 pays 10x and 3 pays 40x. That's
right.
Not off anywhere else with Boom Fantasy.
And people like
I really like the favorites because, if I think LeBron's going to score 25 points, I absolutely think he's going to score 18.5, right? So building a favorites ticket is one of my favorite approaches. And, the casual user, because that's Boom, it's a casual game. The casual user loves to go long. They love to build a bigger ticket. But we see a lot of, and especially when we do our big promotions, we offer crazy promotions like Joe Burrow under 999.5 touchdown passes. And people will take that, pair them with a couple of their favorite legs, and have a nice 3-leg ticket for Monday night.
That's cool. All right, so you give him a little opportunity there.
Absolutely.
Tommy, you have any
Yeah,
Big Kahuna?
I mean,
What's up?
I'm a little intrigued here with who's setting the odds on these props, Rick? Is it an algorithm? Do you actually have guys sitting in a room with big screens like a Wall Street trading house moving numbers throughout the day? How
I
is
wish
it really
we had
set?
the room, man. I wish we had the trading room, Tommy. You know,
Right. Lock them
we
in the bathroom for like all day, like
we
Bronx Tale.
booked a lease on a beautiful office, ninth floor of a great building down by the Flatiron in Manhattan. And we cheers on our first day. I think it was March 19th, 2020. And so we had this glorious office, and we never spent more than one day in it because New York shut down for COVID the next day. So we don't have a physical trading room, but we do have an incredibly active operations team, and we stay competitive. Now, that is aided by the code and our engineers trying to build as much automation to stay as competitive with the industry as possible. And you can see it. You can see the strides that we've made in the industry because we're newer on the block than our competitors in the same tier. We view ourselves with Underdog and Prize Picks, and we can tell that our in-house lines are updating faster than almost anyone in the industry right now.
Good stuff. One other question.
That's key too. You know, you got to be up to date with those numbers so you can really they can work against you.
Do you see Boom maybe one day getting into the actual full-blown sportsbook action?
So the great thing about Boom Fantasy as a product is we're a much broader company than that. My jacket says Boom Entertainment right now, and we have a thriving casino side, and we're in some of these sports books you're talking about already with popular slot games. We actually made the blackjack game for the newly released Fanatics app in West Virginia. So we're really cooking on the casino front, and we're in it for the long game. You know, you guys talked, or maybe it was off the air before this started, about the DraftKings and FanDuel launching, and they had their ready-made mailing list. And it always seemed crazy to me that Vegas is so far behind the ball when it comes to sports betting. And maybe if I'm getting a little rambly here, but when sports betting became legal federally in America, people thought this was going to be an infinite money glitch for companies that got into the game. You saw Wynn and Fox Bet with these massive ad campaigns. Both of those sports books are closed.
Yep,
They've
gone.
shut down.
Tell me about it. I got an email one day saying we're going out of business. Thanks for your help.
Fox Bet. And
That's
Fox
it?
Bet's not
Just
running
like
out of
that?
money.
More or
right?
less.
It's like the Colts.
well,
Wynn's not running out of money. These are
Unibet,
giant companies.
Unibet just pulled out of the U.S. market as well.
Unibet. There's going to be 3 or 4 majors in the end of the day, I'm personally thinking.
Sorry, Tommy. These are massive companies that misplayed their hand. So we're in it for the long haul. We're building something that lasts. We have an insanely talented team of rock stars in so many different disciplines. So we're really excited for the future.
We had an interesting guest on our show last week. This girl Danielle Camella. She's with the Betting Ladies. They're building this like platform to educate women gamblers. I wanted to ask you a question. Are you seeing a big influx of women coming to daily fantasy, more so like in the last year or so than in the past? Well, you can't answer that.
Demographics, but I do want to point out that we do have a couple of affiliates that are women-led that are doing really well. You have, maybe you guys are on the older side for this, but Discord has been a really unique tool for the development of sports betting and DFS communities. And what these smaller communities are more accessible spaces for people who are new to these kind of activities, right? If I go on Twitter, X, and I say, hey, what's a parlay? Like, I'm going to get cooked by someone with a random name and a cartoon profile, right? Like, but if I can go into a smaller Discord full of approachable, knowledgeable people and say, hey, I really don't understand that, I can really find community. So I think you're finding people who were maybe more apprehensive to this hobby in the past are now finding it more accessible than ever before.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's mainstream.
Hey Rick, I want to. You mentioned affiliates, so that leads me to my last question. So, you guys run an affiliate program. I'm an affiliate marketer for sportsbooks and daily fantasy sites. Why do you think it is that it seems like the people that run the daily fantasy sites are more organized, more accessible, more friendly for one, and just have better communication. Do you think it has to do with like the European influence with these sports books, or what's your take on that?
Yeah, it's an interesting take. Thank you for calling me more organized and friendlier. I'll always take that.
Absolutely.
I think it's about the emphasis on building community. You know, a lot of sportsbook leaders, they're now publicly traded companies. They have to do things a certain way. They have to abide by certain rules, and they've grown really large, right? So how do you reach people? How do you connect with people and differentiate yourself? So I think community is a really strong way to do that. And you see everyone kind of does it in their own way. And I really like what Boom is doing, and it's building a community of players that experience this space positively and want to have a good time. And I just think that the sports betting space can be really toxic. And from a customer service perspective, that can be really overwhelming. Again, we're just riffing here, right? But I don't know. I'll take the compliment, but I'm not familiar with all the
Teddy don't give
service.
compliments too often, so you're in good. That's a good compliment from Teddy.
I'll take it, man. Hey, we try to be as friendly as possible. It's a game with real money, so people can get frustrated. People lash out.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Well, we know that. Trust us. We've been doing this sports handicapping for since the mid '80s.
We're building community here. And DraftKings and FanDuel, they've been doing it for so long. They do it millions of players over every day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to say
You're
Boom
a
doesn't have
hero. You go
million
from a
players
hero
yet.
to a zero real
Are you
quickly.
going to be at SBC in May?
I might. We'll see if there's an extra ticket.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not on the first ticket pass.
I mean, I just wanted to add, Rick, OSB is an affiliate of yours, and you always return my emails quickly. You give me some good tips. I'm not going to mention other names, but I am with some of the big boys, and it is at times difficult to communicate.
Oh, very frustrating.
I'll just say it that as far as getting paid, I've waited up to 90 days from some other places as well. I'm not going to mention names, but you guys do things pretty quickly.
I think we should have Rick mention how people can get a hold of them through our audience.
And a bonus, like a new person comes in, what type of bonus do they normally get, Rick?
Is there going to be a link at the bottom of this video?
We didn't do that, but please plug whatever you want to do and give your link or tell a person how they could find you guys.
All right. Yeah. Boom Fantasy. Search Boom Fantasy in the App Store. Best in class DFS. New users get their first entry risk-free up to $100. That means if they lose, you'll get your first entry back as bonus cash up to $100. And you have to be on the lookout for all the promotions. Keep push notifications on when you download Boom, because we're constantly doing under 999.5 points, touchdown passes, reduced lines, things sports books don't do to get more cash in your pockets, get you having a good time. All three different levels of gameplay, really unique product. And it's called Boom Fantasy. You should check it out.
Let me ask you, what's the minimum deposit a player has to come in to open up with you guys?
$10. You can make an entry with as low as 5 cents, I think.
All right. Interesting.
Wow. Very cool stuff.
Good stuff.
Well, listen,
man.
I really appreciate you coming on our show. We always like the insights of knowing what's going on different areas of the sports betting world. And we appreciate your time. And we'd love to bring you on down the road, maybe when it gets closer to the Super Bowl, because you'll probably have 1,000 prop, maybe 2,000 prop bets that we could go over. Might take a lot longer than this, but we'd love to bring you back down the road and talk about future things going on in your industry.
Hey, not only will we have an insane menu of props at Boom Fantasy, but me personally, I've hit the Gatorade color 2 years in a row on the Super Bowl. So You're looking at a real one right now. So don't be afraid to hit my line come February.
No problem. We appreciate it. Have a great day and happy holidays to you.
Have a good one, gentlemen. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. Thank you, Rick.
Anytime. All right. Interesting. Listen, it's always great, to hear the different sides of what's going on out there in the betting world. We're in one space of it. There's a lot of different moving parts out there. You're well aware of it. Obviously, Tommy is
props
big component with the sports betting side of it.
Last 2-3 years, props have really exploded.
Edgar.
What happened to Edgar? Oh, my God. Breaking news.
Props are a type of thing where it's like, there are players that I talk to that they want props and they don't want anything else. And then there's players that
Younger
and
players
it's age. I was going to say it's age. The younger ones love the props. And you talk to a 45-year-old dude, he's not playing props. But you talk to a 25-year-old.
Let me add this. I do speak and network with sharp professional guys, and they do really focus on props. A lot of these guys have been cut off, so props odds are not necessarily efficient all the time.
I got a question for you because you're in the game much more than I am when it comes to this stuff. What are you hearing from the people you speak to? What's like the most popular things they like jumping on, like betting, like with these fantasy things? Are they betting like in-game stuff? Are they betting like touchdowns, passing yards? What are some of the?
I think for props, it's TDs for a quarterback, rushing for NFL. It's
in-game touchdown for whatever.
I haven't heard that as much. It's more, is so and so going to throw X amount of yards?
Passing
over under yards is big.
Interceptions.
Interceptions.
Yeah.
For me, what I'm running into a lot of is guys doing over-under points, rebounds, and assists in the NBA. I mean, that's just really big right now.
You guys want to move to this nasty-ass game on Thursday night in the NFL? I don't even think Mr. Melnick, who's watching us out here, I want to give a shout-out to Mr. Melnick. How you doing, Mr. Melnick? Good to see you here. Finally got him down here from Canada. He finally got smart to get out of that cold down here in South Florida. All right, we got a big game on Thursday night. Not big, but it is the only thing in town. We got the New England Patriots, my former great team, at 2-10, going against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Current line on this game, believe it or not, Pittsburgh is -6, and listen to this total, 29.5.
Yeah,
it's dropped. It was 30.5.
Yeah,
wow,
it's plummeting. It's plummeting.
It's plummeting before our eyes. Why? Because of weather?
Well, bad offenses, weather. I mean, New England, they average 30 points a game combined. New England averages 13.5. Pittsburgh averages 16.5. So it's spot on. And if
you got a take on it?
If I could find a sports book that would take this bet, I would go with a teaser. I discussed this before. It's hard to find same-game teasers, but they're out there. I would go with a teaser. I'd go with New England teased to plus 13 and then under 37 or 36.5.
Okay, that's the direction?
That's
no straight play.
No straight play. I'm not betting this game. This is a garbage game.
Tommy, what do you think?
I have to concur. This is just a game. You have a beer or two. I'm sure Al Michaels is going to be cracking jokes on this game, Thursday night football. Where do you really go with this? I mean, Steelers -6. Could they cover? Yeah. If I had to put a side out, I would say Steelers, but this is a game that there's no guarantee anything could happen here. Two real pretty bad teams. Pats 2-10 ATS.
Finding ways to lose, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean,
never seen a Belichick team like this falling apart right in front of your eyes.
The Pats have put up 7 or less points in their last 3 games.
Yeah, they benched.
Interesting
Matt
theory.
Jones is benched.
I have an interesting theory.
And who's going to quarterback? They're not even saying who's going to quarterback for that.
Be ready.
They're
They
floating
might be
around
calling
an interesting theory that
I couldn't do worse.
Everything is fine with Kraft and Belichick, and all these rumors are like an act to kind of cover up the tank.
Probably.
Because they don't want to get in trouble like the Dolphins did. Real quick, I mean, Stephen Ross, the owner of the Dolphins, got suspended for a year from his team for tanking for Tua. Imagine if they go to the Super Bowl with Tua. He's going to be a hero.
Right.
Take that suspension all day long.
And you know what? The way they're playing right now, they're showing up on both sides of the ball, the Dolphins, and they're looking good, man. They really are.
They got a shot.
They got some nice weapons.
They could put up a lot of points.
If they could keep their defense, injury-free with that offense, man, they're going to be a tough out.
Definitely.
I'm excited for them versus Dallas because they're teams that have a similar MO. But
that'd be a great game.
It's going to be in Christmas, I think. We'll save that. It's a couple weeks away, but I can't wait to break that.
All right, since this game is so nasty on Thursday night, we got the NBA right now. They got this in-season tournament going on, and they're down to the semifinals. Both games are being played in Las Vegas. There's a trophy involved here. There's a championship. It's called the in-season tournament. So someone's going to become the champ. You got 2 games left. Matter of fact, Indiana's playing Milwaukee in the first game in the semifinals, and you got New Orleans and the Lakers. I didn't want to know if you guys have any takes because there are numbers out. Milwaukee's 4.5. 254.5. These teams are going to run and gun all over the place. And you got the New Orleans playing the Lakers on the late game, and the Lakers are currently 1.5.
What's the total in that one?
On the Lakers game? I'm showing 230 roughly on that game.
The Lakers totals have tended to be low lately. I've actually...
You watched the game last night? LeBron went off in that fourth quarter, man.
I didn't watch
Crazy.
it, but I had someone close to me that had the under in that game, and it was a big bet. And he's been preaching Lakers game unders.
Lakers covered by like a half point.
I like New Orleans in that game against the Lakers. I think New Orleans can match up really well against them, and they're coming back from their injuries. They're playing well. I think they got a big shot to beat the Lakers. Those games are at T-Mobile Arena, guys, in Las Vegas. They are going to crown in-season champion.
But I got a question. I'm not going to put out a side, but why are they doing this?
I don't know,
time
man.
Of the year?
I'm curious.
Where did this come from, and what's the real purpose, though?
I guess Adam Silver's been looking to put this thing together for a while now, and they finally put it together.
Yeah, just out of nowhere.
I'm curious how popular it really is at the end of the day, because I don't know. To me, it's just another kind
I think
of game.
maybe the goal is to try to make early games matter a little bit more, because these players don't.
Well,
this is why I don't really mess with the NBA, because
and keep the players playing.
Yeah, the players don't really like to play early in the season, and for me, I mean, that's just
you want to keep the stars on the court.
You lose a lot of early season viewership ratings, so that's probably what it's all about.
But just one thing before we get to this, we're going to talk about the Army-Navy game.
Oh, God.
Can we get to that tape, producer? And
Ben, come on now.
With that little scuffle on that Eagle game, can we get that up? I just wanted to make a comment there.
Okay.
Kind of comical what happened there with the head of security now going.
Well, I don't know if it was comical. They threw him out. I think,
but I mean, this guy, I never heard of this guy. He's a fixture in Philly.
This right here.
Yeah.
He got involved. He got in the face, and I think he threw a punch at a player.
Right.
You're not allowed to do that.
His name is Big Dom DeSandro. He's a head of security for the Eagles. But question is, what was he even doing that close to the players, though?
Well, he's head of security, so there's obviously.
Yeah, but they were saying he had no right being that close to that situation, though.
Yeah, well.
I think
that I can't tell you.
People that are in security, Tommy, you're gonna.
And nowadays, they got to protect.
People that are in security need to be wherever they feel they need to be to do their job. That's my opinion on it. And he's the one, in my opinion, from what I just saw there. I've read about it, but I never saw the video. It looks like he got touched first in the nose.
Yeah, he did.
Drew Greenlaw touched him, actually.
Yeah, he got touched in the nose first. Listen, I don't want to get political on this one, but people hate Philly. People hate Philly fans. Players hate Philly fans. They talk about it all the time. And I think this is an extension of that.
Well, this guy is supposedly a close consultant to the owner, Jeffrey Lurie. So he's really involved in the team, this guy.
No, he's big. They love him.
He's no longer involved, my friend. He's gone.
Well,
I don't know if
I think he got
rid of him.
suspended by the league.
For the
didn't
whole
he?
season?
I don't know, but
so.
I think the team's going to treat him the right way.
I think he got suspended.
Wow.
Permanent or something.
He might be.
Oh, was it the guy with Miami that was on the field? Somebody got thrown out of the league.
How about this? You guys watch
He got
soccer?
thrown out of the game. He got thrown out of the game.
I get it.
Right.
But
You
I
guys
think
watch
there's more.
the Inter Miami Messi games? Messi has a security guard
Navy SEAL guy.
that walks up and down the field as he's playing.
Yeah.
So, come on.
Hey, you know what? You got to protect that $250 million somehow,
Yeah.
right? You don't want some crazy coming out of the crowd I
guess we'll see what happens
shooting or
with that
stabbing somebody.
situation. Yeah.
All right, we got a good jump. We've been doing a lot of talking today, and that's good. We're getting a lot of stuff accomplished. We got a huge game on Saturday in college football. It's the one and only Army-Navy game. I know you have a strong opinion on that game.
yeah,
the current line is, I believe, Army's 3.
And I think the
3-point
total,
favorite.
you see the total, 27.5? Is that what the
Yeah,
number
that's how
is?
these games are.
27.5 this time of the year, man. Weather.
Well, I don't,
East Coast.
It's not
snow, sleet.
Well, I don't know if it's actually weather for this, but you're talking about, first of all, I am going to lean towards the points here and take Navy. I just think Navy will outrun them in the end here, so I'll grab the 2.5 points. This is kind of like, I don't want to use the term all-star game, but these two, they've been playing for 100 years probably, and it's patriotic and all.
Not probably. They've been playing for a long time.
Yeah. I mean, they've been playing a long time. I mean, this is more of a, I guess, a tradition.
It's a showcase game for the schools.
That's what
the
I'm
military schools.
Yeah, it's what it is. I'm going to lean towards Navy.
It's their Super Bowl.
It's their Super Bowl. I'm going to take the 2.5. Is it a strong bet? Absolutely not.
Don't take 2.5. It's +3.
+3. There you go. Well, the money.
Got to buy the hook.
Yeah,
no, it's 3. That's the number everywhere right now. I'm showing.
Yeah, it's popped up then. So the money's going on Army. I'll buck the trend. I'll buy it up to 3.5. Take Navy.
Okay. Anything on that
I'm
game?
going to use this as a moment to just say I don't have a take on this game, but with the current people in charge in Washington, D.C., the rule change that they made that states that if you play for a military academy school, Air Force, Army, Navy, you are now no longer allowed, even if you're amazing, you're having a great career, you are no longer allowed under the current administration to go into the NFL. You have to go from college to serving time in whatever, Army, Navy, whatever it is. I think that's extremely unfair. If these kids excel at their sport, why not let them play in the NFL? Ridiculous rule. Happened with the current administration. Hopefully, when things change, that changes also.
Why is that, though?
You tell me, Tommy. I have no idea.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
Yeah. So
politics, my friends.
I didn't know it personally, but now I'm hearing it.
So basically, if you have an all-star player from Navy or Army or Air Force, and they're eligible to get drafted, and teams want them, they can't go into the draft. They have to go abroad or serve their country in some way. Well,
I'm a little excited about talking about the NFL on Sunday because we got a couple of great matchups. We got Buffalo playing Kansas City. This game's got to give for somebody in this matchup. Buffalo and Kansas City, you know it's going to be huge. And the late game, man, this is what it's all about that they've been talking about. Philadelphia and Dallas. And I wanted to see if you have any opinions on, those games or anything else on Sunday. Are you looking at that Dallas and Philly game?
I'm actually looking at the Buffalo KC game a little bit more. I mean, this is just a must-win game for Buffalo. KC needs to win also.
I think both of them.
They're both underperforming as far as their record goes, but Buffalo right now is not in the playoffs, and they need to make some serious moves to change that. I don't think anyone sat here besides maybe you. I think you said at the beginning of the year that
I thought they'd have a down year.
You thought they'd have a down year. Yeah. So good call on that one, Scotty.
Well, they were playing so good for so many years.
They're 1-7 against the spread in the last 8 games right now. I mean, they just have to win this game. I think that 3 points is a lot, but now it's moved down to 1.5. Without looking at a lot of numbers, I think KC is the better team. KC is at home. I just think Buffalo's season is over if they lose. I would sprinkle a little bit on Buffalo just for the simple fact that they have to win this game.
Best
100%.
Bet?
No, not at all.
No, on Sunday. You have a best bet in the NFL?
So I don't love the board Sunday, but what I'm liking, Vikings obviously have quarterback issues, but Justin Jefferson, potentially the best receiver in the league, is coming back this Sunday. Both of the Raiders and the Vikings come off of a bye. Mm-hmm. Both teams obviously have quarterback issues. The Raiders, I think, have O'Connell in there right now. The Vikings, coach is saying they're not sure who's going to start yet. Dobbs obviously finally had a bad game last week, but I think that the Vikings come back in after doing really well.
They're going to show up in Vegas.
I think they're
going
to show back up because when Cousins got hurt, things were looking good until the last game. And I think that they come back in this one. I think Justin Jefferson makes it a lot easier for whoever the quarterback is because he's going to be drawing double coverage. He's going to leave other receivers open. Okay. And then he's obviously going to get open a few times as well.
So the Vikings -3?
Vikings, I would take the money line.
Money line, best bet?
That's my best NFL bet of the week.
Big Kahuna, anything on the NFL for Sunday?
I got a couple. I mean, the Jets are like the Patriots. They can't score. Playing the Texans, very low total on this one. There's an old saying, the trend is your friend. I'm going under in this game. You might not see many points there.
32.5.
I'm not going to complicate matters. Go under in the Jets. Texans, I agree with Teddy. Bills must win this game. They're going to pull out everything possible. I'm going over. You're going to see a lot of points on both sides. I don't really know who's going to cover. Over 48.5. Bills is.
I like that.
They have no
like
choice.
that.
They're going to have to throw the ball. You might see interceptions.
Yeah.
I like over. So those are my two plays. Go under and the Dallas Philly is going to be a great game to watch.
Come on, guys, want to know that game?
It's a difficult call. I think you got to go with the Cowboys. They're just playing too good a football right now. They're putting up a lot of points. I would side towards the Cowboys, but I like the over in that Bills Chiefs game. That's my best bet.
Okay. Excellent. Well, I got another teaser I really like on 7-point teaser. Last week I put out a real easy one with Miami and San Fran. I mean, it couldn't have made it any easier for you guys to cash on the show with that teaser. This week I love a 2-team teaser. I'm going to take the Cowboys 7-point 2-team teaser. Dallas to +3.5 at home. I think they get the job done. I think they're the stronger team right now. They will take advantage of this game. They're showing up big time. I think absolutely Dallas +3.5. And I'm going to put it to the Colts +6. They are currently -1 against the Bengals. I think that game on Monday night, that quarterback had probably his world-class game. I think they're going to come down off that game. Colts are playing real well right now. They're finding ways to win. And I like the Colts +6, taking them from -1 to +6. So that's a 2-team teaser, 10 units. And I do like Buffalo as a 7-unit play. I would buy that line to +2. I like Buffalo in that game. I feel they're going to show up. They should have beat Philly. They outplayed Philly. I think the conditions are going to be favorable for Buffalo to be in this game against Kansas City. And I think Kansas City's on a low right now. Even though Buffalo's not playing their best football, I think they show up in a big game like this. I think Josh Allen's going to rally his troops and get them going. And he's going to run all over the place again and make that game happen. So I like Buffalo as a +2 dog. That's a 7-unit play. Those are my plays for Sunday.
Guys, you heard this. This is the first time in a few weeks, if you've been watching the show, that we were all on one play. So it looks like we're all on Buffalo here. That's pretty cool. I want to touch on this Eagles-Dallas game. You guys know, I mean, I come on this show every week and say the same thing. Let's look at, the Cowboys have been doing okay, right? They've been beating teams pretty good.
Last 4 games, they're
But who
playing
are they
phenomenal.
beating? The Commanders,
But
the
dominating.
Giants. But I say the same thing every week. They dominate mediocre to bad teams, and they get beat by good teams. I prefer not to bet this game, but I would have to go with the Eagles in this one, just for the simple fact that there's nothing in the Cowboys' resume this year that has shown that they can beat that caliber of a team.
Well, I think Dak Prescott, this is a game that's probably been circled in his mind and the team's mind for a long time. I think they, especially after that last game in Philly, I think they actually outplayed Philly. They lost the game, obviously, but I think they outplayed them in Philly. They showed up for that game. If they show up for this game, I think it's going to be a rough day for the Eagles. They might get blown out again. They got crushed by San Francisco. I loved San Francisco last week. That was my big play on the show. I said that I thought San Francisco could, get the job done. Bottom line is, like I said, I think that Dallas is just too strong right now.
Tough to go against.
And Dak Prescott's like locked in big time. I mean, I think Jalen Hurts might be a little banged up. They're not really saying much, but he looks like he doesn't look right the last 2 or 3 weeks. He just doesn't. Even though they were 10-1, I get it. They lost last week, but they haven't been playing well against teams. They've been getting by, but they're not really looking big time against anybody. So I think they're going to need a big time. They're going to have to show up with their A+ game to beat the Cowboys in Dallas. I don't see that happening.
Yeah, I mean, you also got to look at who they're playing. They're playing KC, they're playing Buffalo, they're playing San Fran. The Eagles' schedule has been really tough. They played, Miami. I mean, they've had a tough schedule.
Yeah, I get it.
But I mean, I just have to.
They're just getting by, though.
I have to stick with my trend of going against Dallas on these big team games because it's just kind of where I've been rolling.
All right. Anything else you guys want to talk about? I know we have a special guest, our roaming sideline reporter. He's been out there working his ass off for us the last week, and I believe he's going to be coming on with some breaking news. Mr. Edgar, is he coming up shortly, Ben? Okay, we got Edgar. He's got some breaking news on, again, with Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. So let's hear what Edgar has to say. What's up, Edgar?
Good morning, Edgar. This is Edgar. Edgar, your roving reporter. I got some news. Well, please tell me. Okay, Travis and Taylor both showed up to this Christmas party wearing matching squirrel suits. Now, what I hear from a very reliable source is Travis didn't want to wear the suit, but Jason, his brother, called him up and said, "Look, Travis, I'm getting Campbell's soup chunky beef commercials. I'm making some money now because
sure it's
you're
chunky
dating
beef?
Taylor. So you do what Taylor says. Now you listen. Now Travis, you listen. I want to retire. I'm tired of getting beat up because everybody wants to charge the line and get Jalen Hurts. Who wants to protect him but me? Now you listen, you do it. And Travis, you know Travis, he listened to his brother. His brother's the boss. Now he has two bosses. He had Taylor Swift and his brother Jason. Further, big news. You know who determines who catches the passes now from the Kansas City Chiefs is Brittany. Well, why is that? Okay, I'm going to tell you right now why it is. Brittany and Taylor are friends. Brittany wants to show Taylor, who's the boss of the Kansas City, that her husband's the boss. He determines everything, but no, he really doesn't. It's all about Brittany. Brittany's the biggest shot. If you want to know who's going to catch the passes on Kansas City, just ask Brittany Mahomes. Whew, that's big news. Of course it's big news.
Is anybody closer to that situation with Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift and Edgar?
Let me say one thing about Taylor Swift. When you have all the money and all the blank, you call the shots, man.
I don't know. He was talking about Brittany Mahomes calling the shots there for a minute.
But I'm just saying, you got to keep in mind,
they're best friends now.
You're dealing with a woman that's worth $1 billion.
Oh, yeah.
She's a 10.5. Let go from there. You know where my mind's going.
I don't think. Do you have a take on that, or what's your thoughts on Mr. Edgar and his digging of dirt on that subject?
I think the relationship is completely fabricated. You know, I think it's all BS. I think it's all noise.
You think it's just like publicity for the NFL?
We won't be talking about this in a year from now.
It's not on the same level, but remember Vegas Dave dating Holly Saunders.
Holly Saunders,
She's 6'1", built like a racehorse. He's 5'5", looks like that was all just bullshit also in the end of the day. Now
they both wanted to grow their social media.
And there was odds, were they going to get engaged? Were they going to get married?
Now she's with Oscar De La Hoya.
Yeah, he was paying her $10,000 a week.
She did all right.
Yeah.
With the golden boy.
She went from him to Oscar. How do you figure?
De La Hoya's got
That's what I call Pat Melnick, the golden boy.
De La Hoya's got a nasty reputation, man. He seems to burn every bridge he makes.
De La Hoya's had problems in the past with some abuse issues, but I don't want to get into that stuff.
No, I'm not even talking about domestic. I'm talking about with like the Ryan Garcia thing. Yeah, he doesn't seem like.
I think they're scheduling a big fight with Ryan Garcia, right? They just announced another fight.
And, you know, that's why I like Floyd, because Floyd just tells it how it is. You know, De La Hoya tries to create this facade of being this nice guy,
but I don't know about Floyd, man. That's that's another topic.
I think both of them have their own issues, but we're not going to get into that right now.
It is.
How about Gervonta Davis? Real quick. So a buddy of mine had a Lamborghini Urus. You know who Gervonta Davis is, the boxer.
He lived in my neighborhood.
He had a Lamborghini Urus for a year, sold it to some dealership or some dealer. That dealer sold it to Gervonta. Gervonta got, remember the hit and run?
Yeah.
The cops were knocking on my buddy's door because the title had just transferred and it still showed that he owned the car. So they were knocking on his door asking about the hit and run. And it was Gervonta Davis's Urus.
Yeah, crazy, man.
Gervonta, he had some issues when he was away. His house got broken into. There was all kinds of going on. They stole his cars.
He lives in Parkland.
Yes, he does. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we had an action-packed show.
Yeah, good show.
We talked. I'll tell you, I want to thank definitely Rick Rosen from Boom Fantasy.
Boom, yep.
I think that's great, what they do and the product they put out. Looks like a first-class operation. Check out Boom, guys. He gave you all the information, or I'm sure you'll have some stuff up on your site where they can reach Boom.
By all means, yeah. I feel they have good odds and all. They have a real good bonus. Check them out, Boom Fantasy. Download the app.
We're going to have to put our thinking caps on now, guys. We're going to have to get serious. We're going to have college basketball, which you and I both love, and we're going to start going into the NBA because there's no more college football. And if soon the NFL's going to be gone.
And a little NHL also. Can't forget the NHL. But, yeah, so we got realistically, we got next weekend, not this coming weekend, but next weekend,
then we got the
weekend
Bulls.
after, and then the weekend after that. We got really 3 weeks left of college football, so we're going to try to get every possible game. I think we should probably break down a few more games than we normally do.
Oh, definitely.
So that,
Bowl
so that
season
we
especially.
can max it out. And but then after that, we're going to have to look at some other things and giving straight predictions, maybe give leans throughout the week or something of what matchups we like, but we got to look for the Lions because they're not out.
All right. Well, speaking of that, tell the people where they can find you and get your great information you put out daily on social media. Take it away, Teddy.
YouTube.com/@thesportsprophets. This show will be on there, plus our daily breakdowns. We started a new format where instead of doing a separate video for each game, we're putting multiple games into one video. So make sure you watch the entire video so that you can get each game. And Instagram @the_prophets with an S_pick, no S.
Follow what he does, guys. The man works hard. This is what he does. He looks to give you that betting edge. You can play it. You don't have to play it, but check him out. He's worth listening to, that's for sure. All right, Big Kahuna.
Big Kahuna.
Let's go, baby. Tell them where they can find you.
Well, you want to get to my site.
Get excited, Big Kahuna. Come on, let's go. Where can they find you?
You want to go to the site, onlinesportsbet.com. We are partners with every major regulated book. We have an odds comparison feed, so you could check the numbers throughout the week. Instagram, I'm putting up free picks daily, OSB_sports. YouTube, OSB-sports.
You heard it. That's the Big Kahuna. He's the man with the plan, and he's trying to make it all happen. Listen to what he has to say. You can play it. You don't have to play it, but at least listen, because he's got a lot of years of experience doing this. All right, I'm Scott Matthews. You could check me out on TikTok. My TikTok is @SMPicks, P-I-C-K-S. I put up free stuff all the time, guys. Everything's free on my sites. Instagram, TikTok. My Instagram account is @SMSportsPicks, P-I-C-K-S. And the best part about it, we're here each and every week doing this show for you guys. Yes.
I want to say one thing. Only like 10% of sports betting social media handles give out free stuff. We're in the 10%. Most people, to get anything, you have to pay something.
And think about the years of experience we bring to the table. I speak for myself. I speak for Tommy. And I'm speaking for you. We've been doing this combined a long, long time, and we're giving it away for free. It might not be right all the time, and that's not what it's about. It's just trying to be consistent and helping you guys make better decisions on these games. But check this show out each and every week on all podcast forums. That's right, guys. All the podcast forums, Spotify, Apple, you name it, we'll be out there. We'll be back here next week. Have a great week. I'm Scott Matthews. See you then.
Really good, guys.
It was a good show.
What do you think?